Okay, year nine. Here is our next video. We're looking at literal equations. Now, what is a literal equation? A literal equation is something that contains no numerals, only pronumerals. So often this is what formulas look like, where you haven't substituted any values in yet. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be rearranging them to change the subject of that equation. Okay, so the subject of an equation is considered the pronumeral that is on its own. Okay, so let's look at this first example. Make x the subject of y equals mx plus b. Okay, that's our equation for a straight line. At the moment, y is the subject because it's on its own. And we want to change it so that x is the subject of that equation. So what we need to do is move the other pronumerals across to the other side to leave x on its own. Now we're going to use the same trick that we used before. We're going to use reverse BIDMAS order. So let's write that down. Reverse BIDMAS order. Okay, which means the first things that are going to move are anything that's added or subtracted. Okay, then after that, we're going to move anything that's divided or multiplied. And then we're going to move anything that has an indice or a square root or something like that. And then lastly, anything that's in brackets. Okay, now fortunately, this question here, this first one is relatively straightforward. We've got an addition on the right side and a multiplication. So we did move the addition first. So our first step is we're going to move that plus b over, and it's going to become minus b on the other side. So it becomes y minus b equals mx. We've just moved that plus b to the other side, made it negative b. We can now divide both sides by m, and we get y minus b. All of that is divided by m. Okay, we don't just divide one of those terms by m, we're dividing both sides by m. And then we're just left with x on the other side. So you know you've finished when you've found that pronumeral that you want on its own. So there we finished. Make x the subject. X equals y minus b over m. Okay, so that's a very simple example. We're going to look at a different example here. Make x the subject of ax plus b equals cx plus 5. So the first issue that we see here is we've got x on both sides of these equations. We can't just rearrange it and make one of them on their own because we've got x's on both sides. So what we're going to do first is we're going to move all of the desired pronumerals to the same side first. Same side first before we then continue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that cx across, and I'm going to make it minus cx on the other side. Again, don't do any multiplication or division yet. We've got to get the things onto the same side first. So it's going to become ax minus cx. Now at the same time, I can move this plus b across and make it a minus b on the other side. So I'm left with, on my right-hand side, 5 minus b. So in this step, I've moved the b across to make it minus b to the right-hand side, and I've moved the cx across to make it minus cx. So now my x's are all on the same side, and I've got other things on the other side. But again, we can't just move the a across or the c across simply. What we need to do now is we need to factorize, okay? We notice that on the left side, both of these have a common factor of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take x out the front, put my brackets in, and I'm going to think, what would I need to expand with x to get back to where I was? So you're going to get an a, because a times x is ax, and you're going to get a minus c, because minus c times x is minus cx. Close brackets. Let's leave the right-hand side the same for now. Okay, So now I have x multiplied by a minus c equals 5 minus b. So I can now divide both sides by a minus c, and that will get me x on its own. So I'm going to divide both sides by a minus c, and I get 5 minus b, and all of that is going to be divided by a minus c. So remember, there's a hidden multiplier sign here. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So that is why we've divided both sides by what's in the brackets there. And what do you know? We've got x on its own, and we've got everything else on the other side here. So this is a bit of a tricky one. Let's just go over the steps. Get the desired pronumeral on the same side. So we've got x's all on the left, no x's on the right. We then had to factorize to get x kind of separated out from the other pronumerals. And then once we'd factorized, we could divide by those terms in the brackets to move it across and just leave us with x on the left-hand side. So now x is the subject of that equation. All right, well, hopefully that explains how to rearrange some of those equations. Good luck with those practice questions. Again, guys, best way to contact me is in Microsoft Teams in the group chat. So if you have questions, make sure you're making the most of that, and I'll see you in the next video.